This segment brought to you by Hope Cancer Care of Nevada, offering state-of-the-art cancer treatment in Pahrump. A little hope goes a long way.
Well, here's Eunette with this week's court report.
In this week's court report, Daniel Antle, the Pahrump man arrested, connected to allegations of threatening victims with a large sheathed knife and a large metal flashlight, until recently had 4 open cases in justice court, but now has only 2 after guilty plea agreement negotiations and a dismissal needed in 1 case. During Antle's pretrial hearing for the case in which he was facing charges of assault with a deadly weapon, 2 counts of battery with use of a deadly weapon, and coercion involving force or immediate threat of force, this case's conflict attorney, Nathan Gent, briefed the record, and pursuant to global negotiations, this case is to be dismissed in its entirety. The state concurred. The court accepted the negotiations as presented, so this case is to be dismissed upon written motion by the state. However, Antle still has 1 case remaining connected to the same incident, in which he's still facing the charge of domestic battery, second offense, and 2 separate counts of battery. During the pretrial hearing for that case, Attorney Gent advised the court that this case has been resolved. Pursuant to global negotiations in this case, the defendant will plead guilty as charged. At the time of sentencing, both sides are free to argue in return. The previously mentioned case will be dismissed in its entirety. The state concurred, then Antle was screened as to his understanding and acceptance of the negotiations. The defendant stated that he understood the guilty plea and he entered a guilty plea to all counts. The state motioned to continue the sentencing to a later date to allow time to notify the victims so that they may give statements prior to sentencing. Defense counsel did not oppose. The court set a sentencing hearing on May 30th. Then the defendant was remanded to the custody of the Nye County Sheriff's Office. Antle remains in custody, $5,000 cash or bond for this active case. Witnesses say Antle swung a flashlight at a female victim, but ended up letting go of it and threw it at her, injuring her. Then witnesses say Antle threw a large knife in her direction, which hit the ground, then hit her. Jeffrey Fonseca Gomez, the Pahrump man arrested and is now facing the charge of sexual assault of a female victim, has another upcoming court date now set for July. During Fonseca Gomez's status hearing, the court advised that a stipulation to continue was received that morning. The state advised that they are waiting for additional discovery and corresponded with defense counsel to advise that they did not need to appear in court that day. Although Fonseca Gomez was present so that he can be aware of the new court date. The court advised that since the stipulation was received that day, the needed Spanish interpreter could not be called off, and the cost of the interpreter is to be worked out between the state and defense counsel. The court continued this hearing to July 26th, and the state canvassed the defendant, who stated that he understood the proceedings but would still need a Spanish interpreter at future hearings. Fonseca Gomez has an active cash bail or bond, $5,000. This has been your court report. I'm Eunette Gentry for News 46.
Thanks, Eunette. Well, royal wedding guests are selling their goodies online. Angela Miles reports.
Topping our news from across the pond, the gift bags given to guests at the royal wedding are showing up on eBay. According to reports, the goodie bags are wedding totes filled with commemorative items such as shortbread. One person says the money will go to charity, for others auctioning off the bags, it's not so clear. The bids are listed upwards of $8,000. The Obamas are giving Netflix shares a lift. The former president and first lady are tying up a multi-year production deal with Netflix. The Obamas' content will air in 2019. Tesla just hit a bump in the road, but the stock is charging higher. Consumer Reports is choosing not to recommend the Tesla Model 3 sedan due to longer stopping distance, but the battery range and electric cars handling are being praised. Micron's momentum picked up Monday. The chip maker raised its guidance and called the semiconductor industry healthy.
Thanks, Angela, and stay tuned to News 46. We have some great news for current and future residents of Mountain Falls. We'll be right back.